Good afternoon, everybody. About 8 minutes after, we're running behind, so I'm going ahead and get started. Clerk, if you call the roll.
Senator Albritton, Senator Carnley, Senator Coleman, here. Senator Gudger, Senator Hatcher, Senator Hovey, here. Senator Kelly, here. Senator Coleman Madison, Senator Chambliss, here. Senator Elliott.
I'm here, and we have a quorum. Senator Weaver, SB 320, ma'am. Welcome. We missed you last time. It is not.
How about now?
It is.
Okay, so I appreciate you letting me have this bill on the calendar today. I know that we don't have time to pass it, but I just want to explain a few things. I'm here today as a result of a public health event that took place in my district on March 28th that many of you are aware of. There was an explosion at a liquefied petroleum gas facility that is essentially located in the epicenter of my emergency and healthcare infrastructure in a part of my district, and it affected 400 day shift healthcare employees, 126 senior living residents, 120 nursing home residents, 2,000 members of a wellness center. It interrupted a high school baseball game and surrounding neighborhoods. It was a fire and explosion of tanks, and shrapnel was launched as far as 800 feet to surrounding neighborhoods and businesses. Luckily, the fire department was able to control it this time, and it was a near miss, but what has occurred is totally unacceptable. So first, I have an amendment. I want everybody to realize I am not trying to shut down anybody's gas grills. I'm not trying to interfere with things that are our daily function. What I am trying to do is to bring awareness to the fact that it's very dangerous to have a petroleum gas facility filling station right near the middle of a healthcare epicenter where your critical infrastructure is. So I have an amendment there that clarifies for you that it is only related to this facility. It is not related to the little tanks that are in the gas stations and that sort of thing. Do you have a copy of that amendment, Mr. Chairman?
I do indeed. And members, again, this is not a bill we intend to vote today because of the practicality of the time restrictions left, but Senator Weaver would like to get this amendment on her bill so that next year Senator Chambliss moves adoption of the amendment. I have a
question. Senator Weaver, and I'm glad that you clarified as far as the filling, the portable tanks that they get at the Walmart, what have you. But how is this going to impact the industry as a whole? Because, and particularly in the rural areas, I mean, I grew up, we had one of those tanks and everything. People would come and fill it. So I'm just wondering, so what did your amendment do specifically?
So it clarifies that it's just related to these very large gas facilities that are filling these smaller tanks that are then shipping them out. And they're doing it right there by the nursing home and the hospital. And the reason I'm here is I've got numerous calls from people who have loved ones in the nursing home. They had kids at the high school. They are senior living facilities. And when this explosion happened, I mean, it could have gotten really bad and just blown up the whole area there. So I'm just trying to create awareness to that. And, you know, again, we're not going to vote today. I don't want to take up a lot of the time because I know that you have a big agenda, but
and my concern, I do want to express this because, I mean, we're talking about one incident that really did not impact them, although it could have. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, if we look at, say, car accidents, so, I mean, we're going to stop people from driving cars. I realize that for everything that people bring us on a case-by-case individual basis, that we feel that a state law is the answer to solving that problem. It really isn't. If we did that, we're going to hamper, using this example, we are going to hamper and close down a lot of businesses because it could happen or it could have, you know, impacted someone. And so all I'm saying is that every time something happens and people bring us things, it's not that we can pass a law to solve that. I do think this is going to cause a hardship for the industries, and particularly in rural areas, because we're talking about the fact that many of these businesses, is there any kind of grandfather clause in there for businesses that are already
and
there?
again, I'm hoping that we can solve it without legislation, and the reason I'm here is that I just want to urge everybody that's involved in this to act quickly, to support public safety, and to reach a solution that's in the best interest of the public and the citizens that I represent. And again, I'm not going to ask that we vote that today, but I just do want to make the statement that if I need to, I'm going to be pre-filing the bill as amended for next session. I'll be moving forward next year, but I just want to urge everybody that's involved in this situation to try to come to an agreement and to protect these citizens and
Well,
these
it's not
senior
just your citizens, it's everybody, 'cause like I said, I grew up with one of those tanks. And
And I think it's not just your regular tank, it's a whole propane gas facility. So, and I'm happy to talk to you about that offline. Again, Mr. Chairman, I don't want to take up any more of your time than we need to, but I appreciate you letting me be here today to share that I will be pre-filing this next year,
Thank you, Senator Weaver.
if not.
So,
involved.
Senator Coleman Madison, I think that a lot of this is addressed, your concerns are addressed in her amendment, which is in your folder in the left-hand copy. So I'd like to add the amendment so that Senator Weaver can have that in place. And so we have a motion by the Vice Chair. I will second the motion, and I'd like to go ahead and get the amendment on. And then it is my intention to carry the bill over as it is amended. So, Clerk, if you could call the roll on the adoption of the amendment.
Senator Albritton. Senator Carnley. Senator Coleman.
Aye.
I'm sorry.
Aye.
Senator Gedger. Senator Hatcher. Senator Hovey. Senator Kelly. Senator Coleman Madison.
Aye.
Senator Chambliss. Senator Elliott.
Aye. Okay. Your amendment's on it and out there in perpetuity as amended. Good luck working on this in the off-season, and we'll see you again next year. We're
Thank
going
you,
to carry
Mr.
this
Chairman.
bill over.
Mr. Chairman, can I just add one last to Senator Weaver?
Yes,
If you
ma'am.
would seriously look at, when you bring this bill back, as far as adding some type of grandfather clause for those businesses that are already there, because I don't know, and I'm sure they don't know whether they're going to be required to, to close up business and relocate.
And I would argue that if they're causing that much danger to public safety, maybe that might be in their best interest.
Okay. Thank you. Next bill on the calendar is HB 67. There's an amendment on that and a public hearing. So who's presenting for HB 67?
That would be me.
Oh, hey, welcome.
So, under existing law, parents have certain rights to manage their minor child's exposure to different environments and experiences. And I believe that requiring parental approval is a strong measure to include parents in the education and instruction of their children. And I believe that parents know what's best and appropriate for their specific child. I believe you told me that there is an amendment that's coming to this one, so I won't get into too much of that. Would you like to go ahead and discuss that amendment now, Mr. Chairman?
I turned it off. I would, Senator Weaver. Members, I've gotten a lot of calls from schools and specifically from theater organizations are really occurring at libraries and aren't necessarily occurring, at least not to my knowledge, at K-12 institutions. And so what the amendment does is limit the effectiveness of this bill to where the problem is occurring. Left-hand pocket there, it's titled Amendment to HB 67, and it talks about libraries instead of K-12 institutions. And I think that will solve broadly our theater program problems in all K-12 schools. And so I have a motion by Senator Chambliss. I'll second that motion. Are there any questions on the amendment? Okay, is there any
I'm
Yes,
just
ma'am.
trying to make sure, because this completely changes the bill for the most part.
Well, it limits it to libraries and it excludes the K-12. So to that extent, I guess you're correct.
I guess and look, I actually don't have an issue with the amendment. I think that for me personally, because I don't even know that anybody is doing drag performances anywhere, whether it is K-12 or any of these other places where children are exposed. Nobody showed me that that's happened. But I know at one point there was some movement to control how the library boards worked in the state of Alabama. So I guess this amendment right here is kind of sticking it to the libraries
Well, this doesn't have anything
Also-
to do with library boards. This is,
Well, it has to do with the library. So the library, the control of it and what they can have there and so on and so forth. So, just an observation, Mr. Chair.
okay. Any objection to using the previous roll on the amendment? Okay, the amendment is adopted. And now we're on the bill. We have a public hearing called on the legislation. I would ask members, or excuse me, those that are coming forward on the public hearing to note that we have adopted an amendment on this legislation that limits the effectiveness of this to public libraries and excludes K-12 institutions entirely. So if your comments are relevant to K-12, then they're probably not relevant anymore, and I'll just throw that out there as you address the committee. We'll start with an opponent to the legislation, Zephyr Scalzetti. Thanks. Welcome. Based on time, we're going to do about a minute and a half, if that's okay with you.
That is fine.
Thank you very much. Welcome.
Give me one moment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Zephyr Scalzetti. I'm a constituent of Senator Jay Hovey, War Eagle. I have a simple question for the sponsor of this bill, or I suppose Senator Weaver in place. Am I currently in drag? I'm guessing that every single committee member here would answer no, but under the definition in HB 67, you can easily make a case that I am in fact performing in drag right now. I am a transgender man, and under new law SB 79, courtesy of Senator Weaver, I've been legally redefined as a woman. And I would like to know, what clothing can I legally wear to the Opelika Public Library? What articles of clothing constitute drag on my body? A dress is aligned with my gender at birth, but I doubt any of you would be very comfortable if I was standing here in a dress. Where's the line between what I'm wearing today and drag? Is my beard drag, since it's a male physical marker, the very hair that grows out of my face? The answer to that question in this bill is left entirely up to libraries to determine individually. HB 67 lists no crime, punishment, authority, enforcement mechanism, or appeals process. If you are wrongly banned, the only remedy is to sue the library or school board, who then have to defend themselves and the law. And no matter which side of the fence you're on this issue, your cities, your libraries will ultimately be on the hook for footing this bill. So as I stand here today in a suit that my mother bought me, in my father's tie and my grandfather's tie clip, I am not in drag. This is not a theater performance. My life is not a performance. I'm not playing a character. I'm here as a citizen of Alabama, as a citizen of Auburn, to defend all of our rights to wear the clothing that we want. Thank you so much for your opportunity, to speak.
Thank you. Chris Hathcock. Please correct my pronunciation if it's incorrect. Welcome.
Thank you. You're very close. Hi, I'm Chris Hathcock from Opelika, represented by Senator Hovey. So whether you call this a drag ban, a cross-dressing ban, a masquerade law, or a 3-article rule, courts have ruled these laws unconstitutional for 50 years. In addition to First, 14th, and 8th Amendment defenses, judges have also invoked the 1970 Supreme Court case Papa Christou. Basically, laws can't be vague because people have to be able to understand how to violate them by reading them, so that they cannot violate them. The law references sex assigned at birth, but in order to understand what the sponsor means, that the sponsor means men in dresses and not women in pants, you have to go back and listen to public hearings. It's not recorded in the law itself. It's not in the law. Representative Lands in the House hearing also asked the sponsor, they discussed the example of a man dressed as Mother Goose at the Mobile County Library. So while the sponsor may find that objectionable, no crime was committed under the obscenity statute, which when we're talking about sexual behavior, which is what this bill says, that's obscenity, that's under the obscenity statute. You can charge somebody with a crime, you can prosecute them under that. That wasn't done. So what we have is an end run around the obscenity statute. But this discriminatory behavior is unlikely to survive judicial review based on the 162 years of drag bans before it that have been overturned.
Thank you. Next, we have Susan Stewart. Welcome, Susan.
Hello, I'm Susan Stewart from Huntsville, that's Senate District 9. I'm just a community member, a straight cisgender woman who doesn't suffer from amnesia, and I can remember when drag was actually a beloved and wholesome family entertainment. The definition of drag in HB 67 is so broad, it means whatever the beholder wants it to mean. What exactly are the clothing and physical markers that show I am a woman? 50, 60 years ago, I was not allowed to wear pants to school even during bitterly cold Illinois winters. Are we really going back to dictating what people can wear during performances at libraries? Who gets to decide what the proper clothes are for one's sex identity? Making girls wear dresses and outlawing some student theater performances was probably never the intent of HB 67, but it is a consequence of how vague and deliberately broad the definition of drag is. Its intent is to harm and harass transgender people by incorrectly conflating transgender identity with drag performances and then outlawing drag. Its intent is to harm them further by creating public fear of transgender employees at institutions that have overnight programs, even though the children attending those programs are statistically and demonstrably in far greater danger from the cisgender employees there. Why not just be honest about the intent of this bill? Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. You got twice as many words in as anybody else in the same amount of time. Well done. Aaron DeJager, and again, please forgive me on the pronunciation and feel free to correct me.
It's actually the closest anyone's gotten first reading in a while. It's DeJager. My name is Aaron DeJager from Senate District 7, also Huntsville, Senator Givhan. HB 67 has two distinct parts. Part 1 regulates what people can wear when performing at a school or library, and the second part regulates where people can sleep, change clothes, and go to the bathroom during overnight programs for children. Section 45 of the Alabama Constitution says each law shall contain but one subject. These two parts do not constitute one subject. The only way to fit this into one bill is to acknowledge that at its core, this bill seeks to erase transgender people. In the Alabama Daily News, the sponsor is quoted as saying he was certain the bill would only impact the people it needs to go after. This bill is not meant to provide equal protection under the law, but is meant to go after certain people. People who, in this bill, use clothing to exhibit a sex identity that is different from the sex assigned at birth. Expressing yourself through clothing is protected speech, and deciding what someone else is trying to express. One subject rule, the equal protection and First Amendment speech. These lawsuits are writing themselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have a proponent. Let's squeeze him in. Ted Halley. Ted, welcome.
Thank you. My name is Ted Hawley, and I'm a little different in that I was transgender. I lived 12 years that way. I cut off my male anatomy. I had a BA in and out. I can't grow a beard anymore. And I'm saying this to tell you that what you're hearing on the other side, I don't think is the whole story. And there's another side of the story. Drag Queen Story Hour, whether it's in school, which I think you should put it back in, or a library, is very dangerous. And I want to point out that there are gay-affirming organizations, Gays Against Groomers, Our Duty, and others that you can go on. I have articles, if you want it afterwards, that say that drag shows are grooming children to be transgender. Transgenderism is extremely dangerous. It's not reversible. I will never have my anatomy back. Children on hormones and puberty blockers, guess what? It damages them for life, and it's encouraging them to go down this road. This agenda is very aggressive. It's not user-friendly, and it's only a one-way door. Guess what? When I left, guess what I got on my back? A big red target and a kick in the boot. So I urge you to pass this, put schools back in. We do not want drag shows or people of another gender with minors at public overnight places. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next we have June Shoemaker. Schmoker.
Yes.
Apologies.
It's quite all right. I'm very used to it. All right. Hi, my name, excuse me. My name is June Schmoker, District 9, Huntsville, Alabama, born and raised. If West Senator's Kitchens, if you're here, hi. I believe I voted for you because there weren't alternatives. Drag and cross-dressing bans have been historically used to arrest people for the crime of being gay. Once in custody, they were frequently victims of abuse or sometimes just disappeared in jail. For example, Linda Watson was arrested for cross-dressing in Arkansas in June 1977. Law enforcement abducted them and drove them to a remote location where they were physically and sexually tortured. 4 county officers were eventually found guilty of conspiracy to violate Linda's civil rights by a federal jury in Hot Springs, Arkansas. While LGBTQ folks are concerned about our rights, what we are afraid of is what happens when the police turn off the body cameras. This is the history and legacy of these drag bans. Thank you very much for your time. Have a lovely day.
Gene, thank you, and thank you for your humor. We deal with serious issues here, but the humor is always appreciated. Members, that concludes the public hearing. Senator Weaver, you're back up for questions from the committee. Senator Coleman, you're recognized.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. I think the speakers have done a great job to tell us why we shouldn't support this bill, but I want to talk specifically about the definition, Senator Weaver, of drag performance. And so the definition says a performance in which a performer exhibits a sex identity that is different from the sex assigned to the performer at birth using clothing, makeup, or other physical markers. So I want to give you 2 scenarios. So that's the definition from the bill, even with the amendment now that is going to streamline this to public libraries. I have a public library in my district, Bessemer Public Library, that has a multi-purpose room that we often use. It is used quite a bit. I use it, my sorority uses it. So if I host an event in my Bessemer Public Library for my senior citizens, and I want to, because when I really have a voice, I love karaoke. I do. So if I host this event in the Bessemer Public Library with my seniors, the Silver Boomers from Bessemer, but I decide that day that I want to do a whole Michael Jackson impersonation, and I dress up like Michael Jackson to entertain my seniors, according to this definition, I'm in violation of this bill because I'm dressing up like Michael Jackson, who is a male, and I'm a female. I'm female. The second scenario is my sorority. Senator Coleman, Madison, and our sorority, often uses that same library also. So if our Arts and Letters Committee of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, which is all women, all female, they decide to host a play, which we often do, host a play in the Bessemer Public Library with a play that has both male and female performers, or not performers themselves, but characters in the play. But because we're an all-female organization, if one of my sorors plays the male portion based on this definition, we are in violation of House Bill 67, which whatever the act number would be. And I just want to pose to the senator that those just 2 scenarios are challenges or major problems with the definition of drag performance.
So how many minors are usually present at your senior citizen event?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. It's a public library. There can be minors, and a lot of my seniors take care of their grandchildren, may bring them to the event with them. Same thing. Even with the sorority, when we open it up. I mean, good God Almighty, I'm in my 50s now, so my kids are older now. I have adult children. But those sorority sisters often bring their children with them to an open event. So thank you for that clarification. It's that my scenario still hold true. We would be in violation of whatever act if it ultimately passes. And that's one of the challenges with this definition as broad as it is.
I think it would also have to bring into effect, is it the minor's parent or legal guardian while they're there, because they would have to have the consent for them to be in there.
I hear you. But why even have a definition that's that broad that could bring those two scenarios in? So if we just have to go there. So the grandparent may not have told the parent that they're coming to this particular thing and they brought the grandchildren. I mean, what happens in that situation? So
I think that's why it's so important that we have this, because I think parental involvement is the key to what we're trying to focus on.
that would be a
here.
grandparent.
Well,
So in
I
this
think-
scenario.
But I believe, if the parent is the legal guardian and the grandparent brings them there, that's one of the things that makes this so important. I think that parental involvement is the key to what we're trying to accomplish, because I believe that parents know what's best and appropriate for their children.
So, but how does that happen? And again, I mean, I know probably what you all are going to, but how, when you say that even the consent portion, where does that happen? So grandmother or grandfather brings the child to the performance, to the Marika Coleman, Michael Jackson experience karaoke night. Because now based on this bill, there has to be some level of consent. So where does that happen? So when grandmother comes, and the child is there, I'm doing Michael Jackson, and with my left hand glove and all that I'm doing. So is there a form that has to be filled out for consent? Is there, how does that consent happen? And if grandmother doesn't know that the consent has to occur, what happens to grandmother?
And that's not defined in this bill.
Thank you.
There's going to be a meme before the end of the day. Yes, ma'am. Senator Coleman Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to follow up on Senator Coleman's comments. First of all, a library is a place of learning. All the great literary collections are there, Shakespeare, Hamlet. And if you go back in history, Hamlet and a lot of those Shakespearean plays, they were all men. They were men playing the role of women. And I'm wondering, if someone decides to give, and it is not the intent to try to sway, as the person, the last speaker that came up, and sorry that your procedure didn't go as you wanted, but sometimes things happen and things don't turn out like but we have to take responsibility for our own actions. I don't understand how this is really helping. And we keep talking about parental consent and parents should know. Well, it starts with these things, not the library. Everything is out there. It's in the media, it's on television, it's on videos, it's on these things that parents buy for kids. And so, again, we want to fix everything. We want to legislate morality or whatever. That starts at home, it starts in the church. The other thing is that a lot of schools and libraries, I know ours do, because we are talking about partnering now with the police department and the libraries about a safe Halloweens, because kids don't go out and trick or treat like they used to. They get one large place, and it's usually a library because it's a large place. Kids dress up in all kinds of costumes. Parents buy them. Again, but if that kid goes there, or the people that are there are dressed in costumes like that, that could be misinterpreted. Again, no criteria, is no set criteria in here. There's no appeals process if someone is arrested or whatever. I doubt if this went to a court where a judge has to sit there and this is what they have to look at. We'll be kind of back where we were with IVF. The only decision that you give me, and this is what I have to make. But the sad part is that the librarians are on the hook trying to defend something that still is not clear and not defined, not well defined. I understand what you're trying to do. I think it needs to be more specific. If there's a drag play, I mean, just say it. If there's a drag play, and that's what this play is about, like La Caja or whatever, you know, if it's that kind of play, we understand that's what that is. And if a kid goes there and to see that and that they're exposed to that, I would say maybe a year. But just because somebody is dressed that way, again, I'm going back to the Shakespeare plays. Everybody knew they were obviously men. Some of them still had the beard, but they had the woman's dress on. It was a comedy. You know, you all brought the bill. I can't tell you how to fix it, but I think I understand where you're trying to go, but I think this is the wrong way to get there.
Thank you, ma'am. Senator Hatcher.
I promise this is the only comment I'm going to make, and it will satisfy the next bill as well. You know, ultimately, my concern is that this is a cultural distraction. We have all of these individuals. I've got information from DC on last evening where there's a zero-line item in this current budget of a $53 million allocation for people who need the support of energy, who may not get it. And we're talking about 150,000 plus people, and here we are talking about what parents can decide and attempting to codify this into law. I am embarrassed by this. I want to thank the individuals who've come forward to share in a space that ultimately seeks, obviously through a bill like this, to invalidate you. That is shameful. That is not what our government should be doing. I am also concerned that somehow or the other, in the course of all of the things that we recognize as sobering moments of the approaching times that we live in, where we are concerning ourselves not only with this issue, but also with renaming a body of water. So I am absolutely concerned about whether or not we as a body of lawmakers are paying attention to the fact that we are not living in normal times. And what we are doing to a minority sect of people is nothing short of disgraceful. I would hope that since we are so busy always, you know, minding around in people's personal business, let us please allow parents to make these types of decisions about what their children will attend and not attend. I know this can be done. We have seen it done in the past, and my hope is that what we do here, which hopefully will have real impact in a positive way on the lives of the people who depend on us to do just that, and not attempt to distract them with these particular cultural issues. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Hatcher. Well put, as always. Members, we have an amended bill before us. I'm looking for a motion for favorable report. I have a motion by Senator Chambliss. Do I have a second? Roll call vote. Yes, ma'am. I got to get a second first. Do I have a second? I'll second. Clerk, if you could please call the long roll.
Senator Albritton. Senator Carnley. Aye. Senator Coleman. No. Senator Gedger. Senator Hatcher. No. Senator Hovey. Aye. Senator Kelly. Senator Coleman Madison. No. Senator Chambliss. Aye. Senator Elliott.
Aye. Bill receives a favorable report, 5-3. Thank you, members, and thank you all for them, Cam. Thank you, Senator Weaver. I'm going to move around on the calendar just a little bit because I think we could use something maybe we can all agree on and bring up House Bill 165 by Representative Rick Rehm. Welcome, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Senators, thank you for your time and thank you for moving me up. The is very welcomed. HB 165 adds Juneteenth as a state holiday. When I started this journey 2 years ago, which was constituent-driven, we had come to an agreement in the House and a compromise that made Juneteenth share Jefferson Davis and Juneteenth, in which employees would select. After speaking with state government, the HR folks, that is an unworkable solution. And so the chairman that I was in front of it for the House stated that we need to just make this into just make it a clean, straight holiday. And that's what this amended substitute bill does. It makes Juneteenth a holiday. For me, this is a constituent-driven issue. They were the ones who come to me, and in the city of Dothan, it's a city holiday. In Houston County, it's a county holiday. And it's a federal holiday that was voted on by all of our conservative representation to Congress. And so to me, it makes sense that we add this as a holiday. Keep in mind, the governor has declared this a state holiday the last 4 years in a row. So for those who had a concern about whether it would break the bank or cost too much, I think that question has been alleviated. I will remind senators that the majority of our state employees are salaried. So it really doesn't add a cost. Where it does add a cost, and it's a minimal cost on the fiscal note, is we have to keep ALEA open, Department of Corrections, and so the cost that we still have to have some individuals either paid holiday time or given time off does add to a minimum cost. And I would like to get into the history of it, but I think I would just leave it at that, and be ready for questions.
Are there questions from the committee? Senator
Why were you looking at me?
You had indicated that you wanted to speak.
Two things, Ms. Chairman. After we lose, it doesn't make us feel any better. It just doesn't. Just have to say that. But I want to commend the gentleman. He did call me because I would have definitely had the question of why, how did he come to sponsoring this bill? Because there have been efforts in the past. So I want to thank you for calling me yesterday, us having that discussion, and just saying to everyone, communication does work. And so with that, I'm going to hush because I won't do a soliloquy on that one because we talked about it yesterday, and I look forward to voting for your bill today.
Thank you, Senator. Any further questions, comments? Senator Coleman Madison.
No, I just want to thank him, too, because, sometimes we look at things from the other way around. People always say, well, the African Americans always come up and complain about things. But understand, like, we represent all people in our district, black and white. You have a constituency that you're representing. And I know that there was another representative that had a bill, and there was some discussion about, well, why should he be bringing the bill? You represent your people.
Yes, ma'am.
And if there's nothing else more I can say is that I applaud you for representing your constituents across the board, all races. And if we ever get to that point where all of us felt that way, we'll have a better state. But I do want to ask you one question. Since the governor has already made this declaration, why you feel that we need to have it in?
That's an excellent question. First, it gives it the permanent spot on the list of holidays. That could change from governor to governor.
I got you.
Another thing is, I think it's a good look for the state. We're recruiting from all over the country. Come do business in Alabama, and I think this is a good look. On the notion of my constituents, I will just add the three of my constituents here with the Juneteenth program in Dothan and Abbeville. I also represent Henry County. They are here. They've been here every time for every committee meeting. This is my third committee meeting because I've been through two in the House.
Are they here right now?
Yes, sir.
Could they stand up, please?
Yes.
Hey, welcome, y'all.
Miss Evangeline Gunn, Eddie Gunn, and Miss Betty Tiggs from Abbeville.
Welcome. Thank you, Representative.
Thank you, sir.
But again, I want to thank you because this is history. This is going back to where we are. And this is reflecting history as it is. While we celebrate the 4th of July, a lot of us don't celebrate 4th of July. We were not free on the 4th of July. So I want to thank you for putting this out, making it history, because by doing this, it also preserves history as it is. We can, change it, but you can't change facts.
Chairman, may I add one thing, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so just in my journey on this, you have to keep in mind that, Juneteenth, 1865, 3 months after the Civil War, Gordon Granger went down to Galveston and ended up freeing the slaves in Texas. In Houston, there's a 5-acre park that was purchased in 1872 named Emancipation Park. It's a 5-acre park, and it's 1872, 1972. This is deep in our American history. And I would be very proud if we would get a favorable reading. Thank you, sir.
Thank
Where
you.
you from, you say?
Well, ma'am, I was actually born and raised in the city of Chicago. The Army brought me down here in 1995. This
And
is
you
the greatest.
still here?
This is the greatest place I've ever. This is the greatest place I've ever lived, and that's why I'm here. I'm
Wow.
making sure it remains that way.
Thank you, Representative.
you.
We appreciate it. I have a motion by Senator Coleman, a second by Senator Coleman Madison. We need a good roll if we can, Clerk.
Senator Albritton, Senator Carnley, Senator Coleman, Senator Gudger, Senator Hatcher, Senator Hovey, Senator Kelly, Senator Coleman Madison, Senator Chambliss, Senator Elliott.
Aye, bill receives a federal report unanimously.
Thank
you
you,
very
committee.
much. Thank you. Representative Standridge, the Gulf of America, HB 247. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. HB 247, what it does is it renames, for our state purposes, the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
That's pretty simple. Do I have a motion? I have a motion by Senator Carnley, a second by Senator Chambliss.
I have a question, Mr. Chair. I'm
We
so
have a
wondering.
question from Senator Coleman Madison.
Why?
Senator Coleman Madison has a question, and it is why.
Okay. Well, I think it's important. Obviously, we know the president did an executive order changing the name, and all the federal agencies are using that. They've officially adopted that. The federal agencies have. Also, since that time, the state of Florida has done a bill, passed a bill renaming it. Texas sent it this week. The Senate passed it. I think it's going to the House. Louisiana, the governors did an executive order changing it. And for our state purposes, you have to buy materials, you have to buy reference materials, maps, things like that. And I think that it's just important that we give them direction on what they buy.
Well,
Ms. Chair.
I would say, I would hope that somebody went back and looked at the history of why it is named the Gulf of Mexico. Again, we're changing history and trying to not give credit to a population of people, kind of taken away and disregarding the history of the people there. So that name does have a history.
Thank you, ma'am. Senator Coleman.
Thank you. I just wanted to, I was looking at the fiscal note, which says that this will increase the administrative obligations of various state and local entities to update pre-existing resources to reflect the renaming of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, but it does not give us a figure. Do we have, because we're supposed to be good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars.
Right.
So do we have any idea how much this is going to cost the taxpayers?
Well, that is unknown, but because the bill actually says on existing resources that may have to be changed, it encourages that. But it says the requirements of that paragraph shall not apply if compliance would impose an operational or financial burden on the state or that entity.
Thank you to the chairman.
Thank you. Any further questions for the sponsor? Okay, I'm imagining, let's see, do we have a motion second? We do already. Let's do a roll call on this one. I kind of think maybe we might need to.
Senator Albritton, Senator Carnley, Senator Coleman, Senator Gudger, Senator Hatcher, Senator Hovey, Senator Kelly, Senator Coleman Madison,
No.
Senator Chambliss, Senator Elliott.
Aye. Yeah.
I believe it's that pass.
You have a tie vote, which means your bill does not receive a favorable report,
Thank you.
Representative.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next on the calendar, Representative Lipscomb. Welcome, sir. You have waited a long, long time to get here, and you have done a lot of work on this bill, and I'm going to let you present it and then get the members. You have a sub in here as well. So, Representative Lipscomb.
Thank you, Chairman. I have a nonpartisan bill to present to you today.
I'll give you that.
I had a constituent, actually not an actual constituent, but a nearby constituent who had an issue with a local building official who demanded that they perform additional work on a project that they were doing beyond the scope of what was approved by the architect, the International Building Code, their local municipality. That snowballed into a bill that accomplishes two things. Says that a building official may not require that things be done greater than what is required by the code. And then doing a little bit of research, we began to realize that our state does not have a standardized building code. We have a wild, wild west of building codes. We all fall under the International Building Code, but everybody uses a different version, so this will...
I have a motion to adopt the sub by Senator Hatcher. Do I have a second? I have a second by Senator Kelly. Let's call the long roll on adoption of the substitute.
Senator Albritton, Senator Carnley, Senator Coleman, Senator Gedger, Senator Hatcher, Senator Hovey, Senator Kelly, Senator Coleman Madison, Senator Chambliss, Senator Elliott.
Aye. Okay, the substitute's adopted. Do I have a motion on favorable report? I have a motion by Senator Hatcher. I have a second by Senator Kelly. Using the previous roll without objection, your bill receives a favorable report as substituted.
Thank you, Chairman.
Good work.
Thank you. If I may,
long work, yes.
Representative Brown, who's being carried by Representative Keel, has a bill on the floor in just a little while. Would you be kind of...
Representative Keel, you're recognized to deal with House Bill 471. That's effective use of the mic, Representative Lipscomb. I'm impressed.
Appreciate the shout out there.
House Bill 471.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill is on behalf of Chairman Brown, and this bill simply removes the prohibition against state or local elected officials serving on boards of directors of local water, sewer, and fire protection authorities.
Thank you, Representative Keel. I know Representative Brown is at home with his mother, who is not feeling well and not doing well, and so y'all keep him and her in your prayers. And I would entertain a motion for favorable.
Mr. Chairman.
I have a question from Senator Coleman Madison.
Would you repeat what you just said?
I sure will. Sure. So HB 471 amends existing Alabama law to remove the current prohibition against state or local elected officials.
Oh, remove the prohibition.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Remove
okay,
the
because
prohibition.
because I was about to say, we have a lot of mayors that are over water systems and things like that. That's been to upset the apple cart right here. Okay, thank you. That's, all right, no problem.
I have a motion by Senator Carnley. I have a second by Senator Hatcher. Is any objection to using the previous roll?
I want to abstain on it.
Okay, I have, bill receives a favorable report.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
With one abstention. Okay, next up, Representative Clarke. Welcome, my friend. He's one of the nicest people I know in the Alabama State House.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
My friend across the bay and members. So I have the honor of carrying for the Alabama Association of Housing and Redevelopment Authorities, and you may know it as ARA, HB 90 and HB 91. One bill deals with municipal housing authorities and the other with county housing authorities, but they are basically the same. The legislation is needed to provide public housing authorities with clear powers under state law to work with and obtain assistance from private developers to renovate existing public housing and developments and to build a new affordable housing. And we know that we do not have enough affordable housing in our state, and I don't think even in our nation at this point. The current statutes were adopted in the 1930s.
Representative Clarke, you're winning. I have a motion by Senator Carnley and a second by Senator Hatcher.
I'll take it.
Yes, ma'am. I thought you would. You're a smart legislator. Is there any objection to using previous roll?
Did I vote? Is that a good bill?
You'll have a unanimous previous roll vote on favorable report for HB 91. Is HB 90 substantially similar just for counties?
Yes, yes.
I have a motion by Senator Carnley, a second by Senator Hatcher. Is there any objection to using previous roll on HB 90? Both of your bills receive a favorable report. Thank you for your patience with us today.
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Yes,
thank you,
ma'am.
members.
Guys, we've already got 471 out of the way. We're on the second page, downhill slope here. Representative Lomax, welcome, sir. You have HB 363. Members, there is a substitute for 363 in your package. If you could probably describe the substitute for us real quick a little bit, or...
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, the substitute just cleaned up some language, so you should have in front of you there. It changed intentionally to knowing and willingly It'll provide reference to the use of a disclaimer that no funds are being solicited from a foreign national, and it'll carve out the dues and fees charged by trade association membership organizations, as long as the entity isn't a foreign national, is not applicable there. And it includes legislative intent language.
And Representative Lomax, we got the idea of your sub. Now, if you could explain your bill for the members.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Chairman. So this would prohibit foreign nationals from participating in our elections here in the state of Alabama. It would essentially align the FEC language with the FCPA language that we have here in the state of Alabama. And it would also close a loophole in that foreign nationals can't participate in down-ballot initiatives or constitutional amendment referendums.
Okay, so I have a motion to adopt the sub. Do I have a second on the sub? I have a second by Senator Kelly. May we use the previous roll on the adoption of the substitute? Objections? Okay, the substitute's adopted. Now we're on the legislation. Is there any questions for the sponsor for the bill as substituted? I have a motion by Senator Kelly. Do I have a second? I have a second by Senator Carnley for favorable report as substituted. Is there any objection to using the previous roll? Your bill is given a favorable report as substituted. Thank you, Representative Lomax. Last bill on the calendar, ladies and gentlemen, is HB 479. Representative Welcome. This deals with statewide voting databases.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, this is the companion bill from the House. Y'all have already passed this one that Senator Kitchens carried up here. This is one relating to taking the Electronic Registration Information Center, ERIC, out of the code. The bill that y'all passed had that, but at the suggestion from Senator Coleman and Coleman-Madison, there was an amendment added in the House bill. And the House bill that passed contained that amendment that actually added what Alabama is currently doing and what the Secretary of State is currently doing. That is the Alabama Voter Integrity Database. Rolled out in 2023, Secretary of State's office began doing this instead of using the ERIC system. The Secretary of State had some concerns about using the ERIC system or that database and had replaced it, and Alabama's been doing this. Now we have Tennessee, Arkansas, Louisiana, Florida, Mississippi, Georgia, Kentucky, and Texas, and Ohio, along with us using our AVID system. So I know you've got a public hearing.
We do indeed, and we're going to be real quick with it. Before that, Representative Coleman-Madison, or excuse me, I can't believe I did that. Senator Coleman-Madison, did you have an amendment for this piece of legislation? Members, this is already in your binder, so are you familiar with the amendment,
sir.
Representative?
I haven't
Senator
seen it.
Coleman-Madison, can you?
This is the one that was put on in the House.
We've already put it.
No, I'm sorry. Y'all have it. She wants to read it. Line on page 8, line 197.
So basically, this requires the Secretary of State to collect and publish data from each county specifying the number of voters who were removed from the voter registration list for each of the 3 calendar years prior to calendar year 2025, and not later than February 1st annually. Secretary of State shall collect and publish data for each county specifying the number of voters who were removed from the voter registration list during the previous calendar year. Remember, that's
Oh yeah, this is a different one. You all did add the one on there. In the bill, it did not say who gets the report. This just specifies that they will publish a report and and who it goes to, collect the information, and so that we will know.
Okay. Well, having just seen this or been made aware of this, not really sure what the Secretary of State's position might be on that as well. Also, given the point in the session that we are, if we were to add this amendment, it's going to make us have to take a step back and slow us down. But I will leave that up to y'all. That would be my only concern. But y'all need, I guess, vote on the amendment.
okay. So we have an amendment.
I still like to offer the amendment because it allows the Secretary of State all it does is allows them to send us a report. And that was something that was left out of the bill. Who are they reporting to? How do we know, how many people are being taken off?
I have a motion by Senator Coleman-Madison. Do I have a second? I'll second it. So you have a second. And let's get a roll call on the amendment, please.
Senator Albritton, Senator Carnley, Senator Coleman, Senator Gudger, Senator Hatcher, Senator Hovey? Senator Kelly? Senator Coleman Madison? Senator Chambliss? Senator Elliott?
Aye.
And Senator Hatcher.
Okay. We have adopted the amendment, and now we are on the piece of legislation. Do I have a motion for favorable report? You may. Can I just get these on the record first real quick? I have a motion by Senator Coleman Madison, a second by Senator Carnley, and Senator Hatcher, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question. I'm looking at the amendment. And I was trying to see if, based on your question, Senator Coleman Madison, if it does provide an opportunity to track who would be purged. And I think this amendment would do that. So there is.
It does say it's a list, voter registration lists of each county.
So that's am I correct in, we're correct in that one?
Yeah,
This new amendment?
That it
Yes.
does provide us.
I haven't seen the new amendment. So I don't
No, I'm saying the amendment you gave us.
I didn't
No,
give
no,
it.
this is-
That's
this
Senator
is the
Coleman.
amendment
That's
I'm
Senator
offering.
Coleman Madison's amendment.
The amendment that he spoke of earlier was the one that we had already agreed upon. As a matter of fact, I suggested it to the Secretary of State because we had a cloture procedure, so I could not offer it the last time.
Okay.
They put it on in the House, which was fine, because after sitting down and talking with them, Alabama very seldom gets credit for what it does on a positive note. And since other states are buying into what we're saying, hey, we need to take credit for this, we need to put our stamp to let them know it's kind of like, trademark. So they put the amendment on it, and it was put in the House because of things that's going on in the Senate. But this one, as we went back and looked at it, even today, sitting there in committee when we were meeting, I said, wait a minute, we don't have any way of knowing who they're reporting to and how many people are being taken out by counties. They need to know that. And so that's why this amendment.
Okay, we did get a motion in a second on that, but we have a public hearing on this. Ms. Carol Mosley from the League of Women Voters is here. Ms. Mosley, we're past due on time, but if you could come make some brief statements for us, we want to make sure you have an opportunity to speak to the committee.
Good afternoon. I'm Carol Mosley from Montgomery, Senator Hatcher. I am reading a statement by Kathy Jones, President of the League of Women Voters of Alabama. This is addressing the substitute bill, HB 479, quoting from the National Conference of State Legislatures website. Voter registration lists are the foundation for running great elections, identifying everything from who is registered to vote to the style of ballot voters receive and the races they can vote on. Everyone benefits from accurate voter rolls. ERIC, the Election Registration Information Center, is an interstate compact that helps states to improve voter roll accuracy by serving as a one-stop shop for list maintenance and data comparison. Member states share their voter registration data with ERIC through an encrypted data transfer, and ERIC provides them with monthly reports on voters who have moved or died, as well as on duplicate registrations. With these reports, states undertake their own verification processes. That's all from that legislature's website. Alabama has chosen to take a different path and is developing its own homegrown tool to assist with voter roll maintenance. That is not our concern today. While we certainly appreciate the Secretary of State's dedication to ensuring that the voter roll is kept up to date and tidy, we are concerned with added language in the HB 479 substitute bill that would empower county boards of registrars, who are unelected officials, to remove anyone from the voter roll by a simple majority vote. The League is asking the specific language, which is lines 162 through 164, be removed from the bill.
Thank you, Ms. Mosley.
Removal
Ted
of any
Halley
registered-
is a proponent of the bill. I'm short on time, ma'am. I'm sorry. I need to keep moving.
I am close to being done.
No,
I
ma'am,
would like to just
Ma'am,
present my
thank you very-
concerning issues.
You have, ma'am. I'm sorry. We're over on time. Thank you. Mr. Halley.
Yep, thank you again. Got my voter hat on now. Just want to say that as a voter, it's very important for us to have clean and accurate voter registration. And if you think about this, 8 states, 7 besides Alabama, Texas, Florida, West Virginia, Ohio, Iowa, Virginia, Missouri have left ERIC. And as a taxpayer, it's not wise to support 2 systems. It wastes my money and your money if we're doing 2 systems. So I think we should be consistent and go with the AVID system that the state currently is working on. And I don't have all the mechanical details of this, but I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Okay, members, we already have a motion and a second. Clerk, if you could please call the roll.
Senator Albritton, Senator Carnley, Senator Coleman, Senator Gudger, Senator Hatcher, Senator Hovey, Senator Kelly, Senator Coleman Madison, Senator Chambliss, Senator Elliott.
Aye. Your bill receives a favorable report unanimously as amended. Thank you, Representative. Members, thanks for your patience today. Sorry we went a little over. This meeting's adjourned. Thanks, guys.
Stay on them meds.
Thank you for your information.
Play tennis.